Hello, everyone. I'm Aditya. Quick show of hands. How many of you worked on mainframes? So I can say anything and you'll believe me because, okay, that's good. So I'm going to talk about something called Zagility. Yeah, ready? So it's a fancy way of saying modern engineering practices on the mainframe. And I work as a freelance DevOps and Agile coach, but my passion is about helping teams who are in the core systems. So the likes of Z series, I series. And oh, by the way, the picture that you saw earlier was a mainframe. So when I started my career in 2000, early days of the height of the dot-com boom, a HR error resulted in me working on a mainframe. So I hated it first few months. I just managed it somehow. And then eventually I worked on everything, other areas. But more recently now, I just started working on core systems like mainframes, and this time by choice, not because I'm being forced. And I think this has sort of given me an interesting perspective of both worlds. And some of the perceptions that I see out there are mainframes are old technology, it's expensive, boring. I think the most important thing is people treat this as this unknown monster. So you don't know how to deal with it because you don't know, so you treat it like a monster. What is the reality? So if you look at Z15, which is the most recent mainframe from IBM, that can handle about 2.4 million Docker containers. So if you think about it in our context, I think Netflix launches about 3 million containers at peak per day. So that gives you context. And the world still runs on mainframes at 70% at last count, and at a fraction of the server spend. So it's a sticky product, obviously, and also it's just designed to run and just run stably, and that's what it does. But then there's a few complications. So what enterprises have done over the years is they just stopped investing in the people and the technology around mainframe. So as a consequence, you have accumulated technical debt because of this huge underinvestment over the decades. And of course, thanks to Gartner, the bimodal view means that if you're a mainframe engineer, you're relegated to the end of the queue for anything. So good workspaces, IDEs, training opportunities. Obviously, you don't get any of that if you're a mainframe engineer because you're mode 2. And now suddenly everyone's asking, oh, where are the millennials on the mainframe? Obviously, nobody's interested because now you made it into a least interesting thing. And most people who are working on mainframes are retiring or dying, literally. Okay. Now, thanks to Agile and DevOps, innovation cycles have become frequent, and suddenly the managers want the apps on the mainframes to change frequently. But then the reality is most enterprises, they're just not set up for it. So I call this the tip of the enterprise transformation, so which is basically tip of the iceberg transformation. So probably most of you have been in it. So you're trying to do transformation in certain areas, maybe the outer layers, but not really touching the core. And unless you transform the core, you can't genuinely have a genuine digital transformation. And I think people have started to realize that, and I think they've realized now that they really need to change the core of the systems that work, and of course, mainframes is a big part of it. So what are the 3 things that I've seen that most organizations are doing? 1, contain it, nothing goes onto mainframe, or kill it. Migrate away, big changes, small changes, whatever, just migrate away, or just tame it, make it work for you. And sometimes it's a combination of 3. And my point is, whatever is your strategy, I think it's important to understand that a deep and profound understanding of mainframes will actually help you execute that strategy better. So to deal with the monster, know the monster better. And I think, thankfully, the world of mainframe is changing, especially over the last few years. There are some really good commercial tool sets from various vendors that can really make modern engineering practices happen. And mainframe world is finally embracing open source. So if you look at it, some of the tool sets that we work with, so if you look at even a smaller place like Rocket Software, for example, they ported Git onto ZOS, which is interesting. I work a lot with Robo Framework for test automation on the mainframes. And Zoe is probably the most exciting thing. The idea is very simple. How do we get millennials back to the mainframe? So basically get them to use the familiar tools that we're familiar with, IDEs, CLIs, CI/CD, and so that we can get there. So what's happening in my current organization is the things that we're focusing. 1, awareness of mainframes, just like this, sessions like this, communities. We're extending the safety net of test automation to the mainframes, automating those critical regression test suites. And then, of course, there's a big part of it is making modern engineering practices work on the mainframe. So this is stuff that is normal in the open systems world now, but it's a bit tricky on the mainframes. And we've actually had some successes in some areas. So the reason I'm here is not to sell IBM, but I think the point is it's an opportunity to cross-skill for all of us and just treat it as another node. Just be agnostic. If it suits your business context, then use it. Thank you.